Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, all praises, honor, and the glory shall go to Yahweh. Ba'ashab, Yahushai, Ba'ashab, Makakwadash, Brakatam. Double honor shall go to apostles, elders, and bishops, a great millstone who continue to teach and to rule well. Shalom to the Akims, a great millstone of like-minded camps and individuals who continue to teach as one body, who will continue to be out on the highways and byways, risking their lives for the greater good. Shalom to sincere Aquats who continuously learning in silence as the Holy Scriptures have commanded for you to do so. And also shalom to the true believers and subscribers of this true gospel, for this should be considered a true blessing from the higher power. This is Azariah Gabar representing the King is Coming channel back at it with another lesson for edification purposes. All right, so the topic for today is going to be titled, Here Comes Another One. All right, here comes another one. And what do I mean by another one? Simply put, I'm referring to another plague and another pestilence that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai has pretty much do on us, okay? And it's spreading like wildfire. And according to these so-called scientists and doctors, this is supposed to be even a more deadly form than the C-19 back in 2019, all right? So you Jakes, this warning is for you, all right? You better start to seek the Lord. I keep saying this. I'm sounding like a broken record, but that's okay. I'm going to keep saying this. I'm going to keep blowing the trumpet until Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai shuts this internet down, which is fastly approaching. All right. So the title for this video that you see on the screen, it reads, Who or World Health Organization warns about the new dangerous Nipah virus. What you need to know. Okay? So again, you Jakes better take heed to my warning. And not only my warning, but the other brothers, the other Akims that are blowing the trumpet as well. And get yourself right while the Lord is still in sight. You heard? So before I play this video in its entirety, Abaratazah, fair use of the 1976 Copyright Act. For this video is strictly for education and edification purposes only. I'm not making a dime off this video, all right? So I'll play this video. And as always, put up supporting precepts and we'll close it out. Let's go.
CDC just issued an urgent warning to all international airports in America about a virus with a 75% fatality rate, 25 times higher than COVID-19. This virus is called Nipah, and it is silently spreading from Southeast Asia. With more than 2 million Americans flying to this region every year and numbers rising rapidly after the pandemic, the possibility of it appearing on American soil is no longer a question of if, but when. WHO has placed
It's not a question of if, but when. And it's like the same MO with that C-19. It started off in China somewhere. Okay? So let's continue.
On the highest priority surveillance list for 2026, right next to Ebola. Before we dive into this video, I need to ask you to watch this all the way through so you can understand how to prevent this dangerous virus and share this knowledge with those around you. And that is also my purpose in making and spreading this video. Listen to this story. In September 2025, a 47-year-old man in Kerala, India flew home after visiting family. He had mild fever symptoms, thought it was just a common cold. Within 5 days, he had infected 12 people in his family and community before doctors realized it was Nipah. 4 of them did not survive.
This is the most anticipated smart security camera of the year.
I
No
don't
internet
care.
connection needed. No wiring or complicated.
According to new research from Harvard Medical School, Nipah can spread through the air in enclosed spaces, just like COVID, but it is far more dangerous because it attacks the brain directly. Currently, there are about 4.5 million Americans of Indian and Bangladeshi descent living in the US, many traveling frequently between countries. On top of that, hundreds of thousands of American tourists visit Southeast Asia and South Asia every year. The CDC has already begun training major hospitals in California, Texas, and New York on how to identify and isolate Nipah patients. This is not a joke, and this is why you need to know what I am about to share in this video today. If this is your first time on my channel, I am Dr. Saul Whitman, Chief Medical Officer at North.
Now, I know that I said that, like the C19, that this new plague and pestilence started off in China. So that's my bad. But still, it's within that region, okay? It's still within that particular region, okay? So I just wanted to clarify that. Let's continue.
Institute for Society Wellness, with over 30 years treating thousands of patients with heart disease, atherosclerosis, stroke, and high blood pressure. And now, let us get into the video. What is Nipah virus, and why is it a threat to us? Nipah virus was first discovered in 1998 in Malaysia when 105 people died in a mysterious outbreak. Scientists discovered that this virus comes from fruit bats, creatures with wingspans up to 5 feet that live in large colonies throughout Southeast Asia and South Asia. Now, here is the part you need to pay attention to. This virus does not just spread from animals to humans, but also spreads from person to person very effectively, especially in crowded environments like hospitals, airplanes, and restaurants. Think of it this way. If COVID is a
Yeah, of course it's going to spread from human to human because a lot of those people in that region, they eat freaking bats, cats, rats, any type of ats, okay? They eat just about any damn thing. So of course, it's going to be human to human transmissions. You heard?
tornado, then Nipah is a tornado with lightning strikes added. It does not just give you fever and cough, but it goes straight to your brain and causes severe encephalitis, making you confused, causing seizures, and possibly putting you in a coma within just days. Research from Mayo Clinic in 2025 shows that among Nipah survivors, up to 20% suffer permanent neurological damage, like memory loss, difficulty speaking, and personality changes. So why should Americans worry right now when this virus is still mainly in Asia? The answer is very simple. We live in a globalized world. Someone in Kerala today could be sitting next to you on a flight to Los Angeles tomorrow, and the incubation period for Nipah is 4 to 14 days, meaning that person may have no symptoms when passing through customs, but is already carrying the virus. The CDC has increased surveillance at the 20 largest international airports in America, but as we saw with COVID, once a virus gets in, it can spread very quickly before we can react. Symptoms and how to recognize them. Now let us talk about the warning signs that you and your family need to know. The early stage of Nipah looks exactly like the common flu, and that is exactly why it is so dangerous. You start with fever, maybe around 100 to 102 degrees Fahrenheit, followed by headache, muscle pain, and fatigue. At this point, most people think they just have a cold or seasonal flu, take a few Tylenol and rest. But with Nipah, things change very quickly within the next 24 to 48 hours. You start having respiratory symptoms like cough and difficulty breathing, similar to pneumonia. Then comes the scariest part, brain symptoms. You may start feeling confused, not remembering where you are, not recognizing loved ones. Some people have seizures. In severe cases, Patients can fall into a coma within just 24 to 48 hours after brain symptoms begin. Think of the brain like a sophisticated computer that controls everything in your body. Nipah virus is like a hacker breaking into the system and destroying everything from the inside out. It causes encephalitis, meaning your brain swells up, but your brain sits inside a hard skull that cannot expand, so when it swells, it gets compressed and brain cells start dying. This is why the fatality rate is so high and why time is the most critical factor. If you or someone in your family has flu-like symptoms combined with confusion or changes in mental status, and especially if that person just traveled to South Asia or Southeast Asia within the past 2 weeks, you need to get to the emergency room immediately and tell the doctor about travel history. Do not wait to see if symptoms go away on their own, because with Nipah, every hour that passes can make the difference between life and death. Why we do not have a vaccine or treatment yet. This is the part people ask me about most. If this virus is so dangerous and has been known since 1998, why do we still not have a vaccine or cure? The answer really frustrates me with our global healthcare system. Nipah primarily affects poor countries in Asia where there is not enough money to invest in expensive vaccine research. Big pharmaceutical companies in the West do not see enough profit in developing a vaccine for a disease that only has a few hundred cases per year in remote places. But now that WHO warns that Nipah has the potential to become a global pandemic, suddenly everyone is starting to care. But there is some good news. Scientists at Oxford...
So you heard what that dude says. Big Pharma didn't see any profits. Okay? So that's what it's all about at the end of the day. It's about profits, about the bottom line, it's about money. These dudes don't care about you. No, they don't. They do not give a rat's ass about any of you people. You heard?
University are developing an experimental vaccine and have had promising results in animal trials. That's the sound of an American oil company hard at work. Want to be a part of it? Listen.
No.
Hello, my name is Adam.
However, this vaccine still needs to go through multiple stages of human clinical trials and could take another 3 to 5 years before approval. Meanwhile, we only have supportive measures for treatment, meaning helping your body fight the virus rather than having medicine that kills the virus directly. Doctors will put you in the ICU, put you on a ventilator if needed, control fever and brain pressure, and hope your immune system is strong enough to beat the virus.
The same playbook, the same MO, just like with that C19 era. Incubators, respirators, and a lot of people died. Yahweh Hashem Yahushai took away a lot of those people. Because remember, in the book of Zephaniah 3 and 5, if I'm not mistaken, roughly paraphrasing, every morning the Lord hands out judgment every single morning. And it's going to be the same thing, but worse. Trust. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the new disease X that has been spoken about for quite some time now. All right?
It is like when your house is on fire, but firefighters can only help you get out and prevent the fire from spreading to other houses, but there is no way to put out the flames directly. This is why prevention is the strongest weapon we have right now. And that is exactly what I will tell you about in the next section. How to protect yourself and your family. All right, now we get to the most important part that I want you to remember and share with everyone you know. Even though we do not have a vaccine, there are many things you can do to minimize your risk of Nipah infection, especially if you plan to travel or have family members traveling between America and South Asia. First and most important, if you are planning to travel to India, Bangladesh, Malaysia, or any country in Southeast Asia, check the CDC travel warnings before you go. During Nipah outbreaks, the CDC typically issues specific warnings for each region. When you are there, avoid contact with bats or areas where bats live, especially places with fruit trees. Do not eat fruit that has fallen or shows signs of animal bites because bats may have contacted them and left virus on them. Also, avoid drinking fresh coconut water from street vendors if you see bats flying near that area. Second, if someone in your family or community just returned from these areas and has flu-like symptoms, encourage them to wear a medical mask and limit close contact with others until certain it is just a common cold. I know this sounds excessive, but remember the lesson from COVID. Early mask wearing saved many lives. Third, maintain good hand hygiene, especially after international travel or when in crowded places like airports. Wash hands with soap for at least 20 seconds or use hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol. This virus can survive on surfaces for several hours, so avoid touching your face before washing hands. Finally, if you work in healthcare or care for sick people, make sure to use full personal protective equipment when in contact with any patient who has encephalitis symptoms or has travel history to Nipah areas. In previous outbreaks, healthcare workers accounted for a high proportion of infected people because they had direct contact with patient body fluids containing very high concentrations of virus. What will happen if Nipah comes to America? Now, I want to be straight with you about the scenario that the CDC and health experts are preparing for. If Nipah appears on American soil, we could face a situation much more serious than the early days of COVID, and I will explain why. With COVID, the average incubation period was 5 days, and many people had mild symptoms or no symptoms, which, while making the virus spread quickly, also gave us time to build field hospitals and
So, ladies and gentlemen, the end result, once this disease X or Nipah virus do come to Babylon, well, this is going to be Esau's ammunition to completely shut down this place, like he did with C19, Salakia. And it's going to be a lot more serious, straight up. And they're going to really are going to push for vaccines, and that is going to be mandated this time around. It's going to be absolutely mandated. And plus, this will give Esau the ammunition to quickly speed up that MOT-B, that mark of the beast, that RFID microchip. All right? So all these things, Esau, they're preparing right now, right underneath your noses, okay?
ICU capacity. With Nipah, when someone has symptoms, they quickly become very sick and need intensive care immediately. This means our hospital system, already overloaded after COVID, could be overwhelmed very quickly. Each Nipah patient needs a special negative pressure isolation room to prevent the virus from spreading through the air. And most hospitals only have a limited number of these rooms. On top of that, the high fatality rate means the psychological impact on the community will be huge. People will be much more scared than with COVID because they know that if they get infected, the chance of survival is only 25%. But this is why I do not want you to panic, but instead prepare. The CDC has learned many lessons from COVID and now has specific response plans for Nipah. They have trained rapid response teams in each state, stockpiled protective equipment, and established rapid isolation protocols. Major airports already have thermal scanners and screening systems for passengers from high-risk areas. If the first case is detected, they will quickly trace all contacts and put them in isolation to stop the chain of transmission. The key here is early detection, and that is why raising awareness in the community, like what we are doing right now, is extremely important. If people know about Nipah and its symptoms, they will go to the hospital earlier, doctors will think about Nipah when asking about travel history, and we can prevent one case from becoming an outbreak. All right, everyone. We just went through a lot of information about Nipah virus, from its origins, why it is dangerous, symptoms to watch for, and most importantly, how to protect yourself and your family. I know this information may sound scary, but remember that knowledge is power, and being well prepared is always better than panicking later. If you found this video helpful, please share it with your loved ones, especially those planning to travel or who have family in South Asia and Southeast Asia, so they also know how to avoid Nipah virus. And please like my video.
All right. So, like I mentioned, Esau is going to truly make it mandatory once this disease X or Nipah virus hits Babylon. And they're going to create more, detention camps. And this time, they're not going to say pretty, please. They're going to just straight up, if they know that you're at risk, it's a wrap. They're going to snatch you up against your will, and they're going to throw you in the back of a truck, and they're going to take your ass to a detention camp. All right? And this will give them even more of an opportunity to insert that charagma or that microchip up in you, okay? So, you Jakes, y'all in for a rude awakening, you 2/3 Jakes in particular, all right? So, with that being said, I'd like to pull up some scripts. So, Matthew 24:3, and it reads, and as he sat, and who was it he? None other than Yahushua HaMashiach. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what are these things? These are the plagues and pestilences, the predictions of the end of the world. And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? Verse 4. And Yahushua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. And this is what Esau is all about. He's about deception, wiles of the devil. All right? Like the book of Ephesians 6:11 says. Verse 5. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Hamashiach, and shall deceive many. In verse 6. And ye shall hear the wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not be troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Verse 7, for nation shall rise against nations, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. Woo! Okay? Key word here is pestilences. Okay? Slakia. Dry throat. But yeah. So you better be on the lookout, you Jakes. And I'm gonna say it again. Seek the Lord while you still may be found. Okay? And verse 8, and these shall be the beginning of sorrows. Woo! These are going to just be the tip of the iceberg. All right? I'm telling you. You guys really better start to wake up and go back to your true power and your true Lord for protection and to repent and to convert at the same time as well. And so in the Gospel of Luke 21:6, it pretty much says the same thing. It reads, as for these things which ye behold, the days will come in which there will not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. Verse 7, and they ask him, saying, Master, but when shall these things be? And what sign will there be when these things shall come to pass? Verse 8, and he said, take heed that ye be not deceived, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Hamashiach, and the time draweth near. Go ye not therefore after them. Verse 9. But when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. Woo! Verse 10. Then said he unto them, nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. Verse 11. And great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines and pestilences, once again, and fearful sights, and great signs shall be from heaven. Okay? So, there you go. These things are coming to pass as each day go by. Okay? And a lot of you 2/3 Jakes still want to party up and globetrotting all around the world like it ain't no thing but a chicken wing. Okay? Suit yourselves. That's all I'm going to say. Suit your damn selves. Verse 12. But before all these, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you. So this is talking about the 1/3 of the elect, delivering you up to the synagogues and into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. Woo! So this is also part of the plagues and pestilences, okay? It's not just about, biological warfare, infections, diseases. It's about being persecuted. Us 1/3 of the hopeful elect, we're being persecuted. And soon they're going to start to come after us and cast some of us in prisons, like in the book of Revelation says, okay? So just be on the lookout for that as well. And speaking of Revelation, we're going to go to Revelation 6 and 7, and it reads, and when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, come and see. Verse 8, and I looked, and behold, the pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And who's that pale horse? None other than Esau Edom, okay? Because he represents death and hell. Remember, in the book of 2nd Ezra 6 and 9, Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is of the world that followeth. I'm just roughly paraphrasing, okay? And power was given on to them over the fourth part of the earth to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. Okay? So, again, you're going to have all these things going on when that time comes. So I did some definitions for the terms plague and pestilence, as you see on the screen. So as you see, it reads, for the word plague, an epidemic disease that causes high mortality, pestilence, an infectious epidemic disease caused by a bacterium, categorized by fever, chills, and prostration, transmitted to humans from rats by means of the bites of fleas. Any widespread affliction, calamity, or evil, especially one regarded as a direct punishment by Yahweh. Any cause of trouble, annoyance, or vexation. Okay? So like I just mentioned, These plagues and pestilences are not just medical. These are evil doings overall. So when we get to that word pestilence, it reads a deadly or virulent epidemic disease. And then you have something that is considered harmful, destructive, or evil. Okay? So these are the evil things that are being bestowed upon the world. Okay? And us. And mainly you 2/3 of Jacob for your evil doings. You heard? So I want you guys to keep this in mind as you guys continue to go out on these cruises, head out to the clubs, head out to the family barbecues, head out to the Valentine's Day events that's right around the corner, okay? Keep that in mind, that evil times are coming. You heard? So that's going to conclude this very beautiful lesson for today. And as always, hopefully some edification was brought forth. All praises, honor, and the glory shall go to Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahushai, Ba'asham, Makakodash, Brakatam, Kwam, Yasharah, the rise Israel. And as always, Abba Ratazah, Lord willing, on to the next video. Shalom.